Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience
Podcast.
I'm your girl JB.
And I'm Cameron.
And this week we're back with another exciting episode. Streaming on Netflix currently, the movie The Deliverance. Currently, this movie is being labeled as a thriller, but some people are calling it scary. And we're here to kind of sort out the details and talk about this film with you guys a little further. So, with no further ado, Cameron, tell us what you thought about this movie.
I think great things, honestly. I feel like it had a very spooky element to it. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a horror, but I can see where people get that, like, they get that vibe. I think it was more as a thriller. I mean, it can be horror because they do a little gore and stuff. So I guess that's why some people think it's a horror, but it gave me more suspense, more thriller, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I could see the thriller side of it, but in my brain, thriller is like, for me, thriller is an episode of Law and Order, you know? Like, the drama. Where is this going to go? It was horror to me just because there was a demonic presence involved, and there had to be spirits involved and all that stuff. To me, it was like watching a black version of...
Poltergeist or something
like that. Yes, exactly.
Or Amityville Horror.
And I knew when I passed it to you, it didn't matter what you said, I was going to agree because they're white horror movies with a demonic child that has to be basically, what's it called when they have a possessed? Exorcise. The exorcism. Yeah. That was what I was looking for. So, anyways, for me, it counted as a horror film. But there were aspects to this that made it really good for me because I usually don't like scary movies. And I would call this just a scary movie. I don't like scary movies, and the fact that I watched it and by myself,
it says a lot.
It says a lot, you know? A lot really refers to Andra Day. Because I am such a super fan of her ever since I saw her perform in Billie Holiday. I think that she's super talented, super natural. Like, I don't know what it is about her, but I can feel her presence on screen every time. It's like I feel like I'm with this woman who I know, and she gives me the realness. Like, she gives me, I'm a black woman, this is what a black woman is like, not what they make us act like on TV to be acceptable. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even that she's ghetto or hood in this film. She just has her rough edges. Like, she's a little rigid. But I never got ghetto. I never got, crackhead. I just got a woman struggling through life. So, like...
And addiction.
Exactly. So, kudos to Andra Day for being in this film. Who else surprised you in this movie that was in this?
Well, I first want to say I agree with you that I love that Lee Daniels pulls a lot out of Andra Day, because he was the one that also I think produced and directed The People vs. Billie Holiday.
That makes sense.
So he always casts her he's really good about casting her and being able to bring that out of her, which I love. But I feel like we have to talk about Glenn Close in this movie because her being such multiple Oscar-winning actresses and Oscar-nominated actresses are in this movie, not just Glenn Close, but just seeing these legendary actresses on the screen and actors, even Omar Epps is in there. It's like these are really legit actors in this movie.
And the one that plays Angela in Why'd I Get Married? She's the preacher in the
movie. Oh yeah, Tasha Smith.
Tasha Smith.
Yeah,
right.
It's throughout the entire movie, literally star-studded, and I appreciate that they didn't make any role seem too small. If that makes sense. And also I don't know. I do want to get back to the horror versus thriller. I do have one more point before we continue going on.
Okay.
But the reason why I feel like it is more of a thriller to me because it is based on a true story.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even though there is a super.
They don't want to call it horror. Yeah. If it really happens.
Yeah, but I feel like when it comes to supernatural elements demonic, especially being black, a lot of black people tend to believe in supernatural stuff. Usually, again, I'm not trying to put that a label on anybody, but a lot of black people have grown up at least in church or spiritual, so it's something that's kind of common to us,
right?
The spiritual world. So to me, that's why it made it more believable, more thriller-ish as opposed to a horror movie. So I didn't want. I'm
gonna circle back on that one later. But I want you to talk about Glenn Close.
Glenn Close, because my favorite role of hers in Cruella de Vil, 101 Dalmatians.
In her youth,
as
the perfect villain.
Literally,
not as reincarnating the perfect mother villain, but she wasn't even a villain.
She was a traditional poor
hood mama.
Yeah, hood white mom. Like that. We all know that white woman that only dates black men, and she feels like she's one of us, quote unquote.
What? There's
multiple.
I could never would have thought they were. out there doing that because the bonnet and the rugs and the slippers and the house coat, like
you said earlier, the exact hair, the wig,
yeah,
the exact hairstyle.
Yeah, it's very specific to the. I like black men. I love them. It's just a very specific white woman look. They were killing her with the auntie outfits though. She came in as auntie for sure. There's a part of the movie where she's wearing a white top and she has a cross right in the middle of her belly. And everybody knows the auntie you see at the party and she got the little outfit on, she come up to you with a little drag. What's going on, baby nephew?
Trying
to act young, look young, the makeup, the hair, the big hoop earrings, like it's giving ghetto. It's giving I wish I could fit into this culture, but like I just love the fact that they had a character like that because that person does exist in the real world. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know there was a lot of critiques.
She's thriving.
No, literally she
yeah.
Even during chemo, she's still pulling, which is crazy. Again,
you never see Kris Jenner without a man.
No, for real.
A young black one too.
Yeah. Never ever.
Sorry, but it's just a thing. It's just a thing. I wonder how black men feel about being that for them. But neither here nor there.
I mean, you definitely can explore it because it seems to also be very sexual. Like
yeah.
And again, it's I don't want to seem as a stereotype, but like given her circumstances in the movie, she is like a single mom, and she struggled with addiction as well.
Yeah.
But she's redeemed because she gets saved. And that's also a lot of people's story.
Yeah.
And especially in like lower income communities sometimes, or like I'll say they weren't necessarily lower income; they were more like
they were
middle,
poor a little bit.
like middle class, but like lower middle class.
They
had something. They had an Apple computer up in there. And
yeah, but like she used his money to pay like what was that rent or something?
Yeah,
like,
well, no, the exterminator.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
yeah, she was poor.
But I'm saying that was like the life I lived. Like we had stuff, but also
okay. So I don't know that you said that because
I'm
not calling you poor. I'm just saying I noticed that the character was poor. Okay?
I'm not saying that you call me poor. I'm saying that I feel like I experienced like that type of life, so I understand it being like middle lower class, like middle lower class.
You had a job at 15, bro. you were poor. Like the phone bill was in your name.
But a lot of poor people don't get to go on trips and do stuff that I got to do. So
you did. You had a limo for your birthday.
Exactly.
I'll never forget.
It was paid for by my mother.
Exactly what a hood
Exactly. I'm saying I understand. Like I feel like I understand the situation.
Okay.
But it's not like dirt poor to where like.
Yeah, like they still had things.
It's exactly where like when she had a phone, she had a cracked phone. You know how it is when you have a cracked phone and you can't afford to get a new phone until your birthday.
Yeah. When you get your birthday gifts.
So what I'm saying is that this movie, I feel like it was very realistic and it did play like a lot, but they weren't necessarily stereotypes. I was like, all black people experience this, like all black people are going to experience this type of situation, but there are black people who are in this situation. Is what I really liked about this movie too. I feel like it was very accurate.
Yeah, well, one thing I really liked about it, as far as like, I thought you were going to go a little bit more on the Glenn Close thing because honestly, she played the fuck out of the ghetto white mama role.
Yeah, so then weaving everything, like she was doing it.
She was really killing like I got these black grandbabies and this black life, and she was, honestly, I just would have never pictured her for that type of role. So to see her do it and do it so well, so accurately, like that was so interesting to me. So I loved that. I loved the part that she played, but I also loved Andra Day, her like reaction, her response time, her resentment and anger towards her mother. It was just like the most relatable like viewing of a mother-daughter relationship. Like men I don't think men could possibly understand what it's like with women being two alpha type of personalities, like never agreeing, always having to have their way, always trying to step over each other. But there's like a lot of resentment in mother-daughter relationships, even healthy ones. So to see her and her mom have so much like angst towards each other, and there weren't always words written in between them. Some of it was just looks. Like they killed it for me. Like they were a perfect mother-daughter pair, and they delivered on that. The deliverance delivered. So I did love that. But back to your point about the whole horror versus thriller thing. At the end of the movie, when she's getting rid of the demon that's possessing her son, she talks in tongues. I thought that was so interesting because if you are unfamiliar with churches and the spiritual world of like people who talking in tongues when they catch the Holy Ghost, then you would have just thought that she got possessed too.
Exactly.
Crazy, right?
But I said, hey.
When I see that she was throwing the hallelujahs, I was like, oh, we're on the right side. Yes. She's like, hallelujah. I was like, oh yeah, we made it.
I know. I like you said, growing up like in a more Pentecostal circle, which happens to be quite a few black people I know. Speaking in tongues is something.
On record, I did not grow up Pentecostal.
I know you about this. So I remember when you came to.
And I used to think like, oh, I'm talking in tongues. I'm still a reserved Christian.
She's more on the Reformed Baptist. No, but I'm saying it was a good experience to see because a lot of times when it comes to deliverance, the Pentecostal churches always talk about deliverance. You know? And so, like, seeing that, again, was a very accurate representation. Mm-hmm. Now, again, it's up to you to decide whether it's true or not. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just the way things are portrayed. And as seeing it in film, I feel like I wasn't offended, if that makes sense, too. Yeah. I feel like it was done, the whole thing was done in a very tasteful way because this can be very sensitive because even though it's not the exact retelling of the story, it is based on a true experience. Yeah. So, like, you want to kind of be sensitive with that. Yeah. Especially when it comes to culture, especially when you have, like, again, a white woman portraying somebody that's a part of the black community and stuff like that. I feel like it can be taken the wrong way. So, like, see, again, bring these things up and you like mention that it really is to me important to see that in film done well, and I feel like the movie delivered. Again, delivered.
It delivered. But I will say too, like for me, the talking in tongues actually tied it in for me and made it more realistic because like I'm a black woman who watches horror films sometimes, and when I watch them, I never feel connected. I feel like this character is doing something that, number one, I would never do. They're giving this ghost or this presence too many opportunities to show itself, right? Exactly. Because essentially, like what happened with them and their situation, it was like pretty much back to back, and each instance was so different. Like first it was like the kids thought that she attacked them. Then it was the little boy was being attacked by the big brother. Then the little boy attacked the grandmother. Like each instance was so separate and individual that there was no way to connect it to the house necessarily. So like it wasn't like, because like black people, right, you hear a noise in your house, you're like, oh, what's that noise? Like your house gonna make a couple noises before you're like, we're not staying here. Like realistically speaking, but every scenario was so different from each other one that it was like, oh, this could happen. Like if you moved into the house and you didn't know and you couldn't catch on to the trend because everything was so different but so the same, and you didn't catch on to like, dang, is this tied to this? Is it tied to this address? Is it tied to, this
everything that's going on? Like, she's, just when her son pushed her, and so it's like you have that tension. So you're like, well, okay, he probably got an attitude, walk around the house at night. It can be anything. And so, and I remember in an interview with the actual lady who this happened to, she was saying, because you got kids in the house at night and you go to work all day, you tired, you hear somebody walk around, these kids being bad, they're going to get a snack. That's what kind of stuff you think. and then, but I feel like, again, like you said, if most black people, and this might be a stereotype, but like when stuff start going down, we'd be like, that happened. That's the second time in a row. Everybody get your stuff, it's time to go. So I feel like by it being so separate, like you said, and different people and different stuff happening, it kind of was like, oh, okay, what is actually going on here? So when it finally developed, you're like, oh, snap. And
that's exactly why, like, I don't like horror films, because horror films, they push you past a level that any person would stay. They always show you this like unrealistic, like the ghost gotta walk up to you, kiss you on the neck, and like leave footprints for you to be like, oh, it's a demon. This movie was like, it all happened very quick. Like, shit, is there something in this house? Is there a spirit? Like, it was like they could barely even catch up to what was going on. And then we see our girl, Anju Janae, right? Anjanou Ellis Taylor.
Oh,
Ellis, sorry. Anjanou Ellis. And she comes in and she's like, yo, listen, some weird stuff has been going on in this neighborhood. I'm telling you that I'm an evangelist. I'm here to help you. Let me tell you what's going on. Let me help you get ahead of it. That was the first time that we even saw that there was a trend or a pattern that could have been related to the house. Which is, again, so true for black people. Like I said, we would move on that first run. So the fact that they were still there, and then as soon as she heard word, it wasn't like she jumped to take action, but she didn't wait long before she had Anjanou in there doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like when I think about this film, I'm like, this borders reality to me. This actually is something that to me could be considered horror.
I 100%.
Because they weren't just outrageously stupid. You know what I mean? Like they were like, what's going on here? Like they weren't stupid at all. Like, and maybe it's because it's based on a true story that it actually is more realistic to me, because they actually were able to take from like real events that occurred. But like, yeah, I just think that They did they big one on
well,
this.
as somebody who loves a horror film, I'm gonna say you need to watch a lot more horror. But I know you don't like horror. But I do agree. Like I understand what you mean as far as like the, you know, like the huge facade or like the bigness of like the set scenarios. Like, because you only got one time to pick me up and swing me around the room and throw me for me to be like, I gotta leave this house. Like, you know, like the first time I get pulled out the bed, I'm leaving the house.
Yeah.
You know. But again, with these movies, it's like you wouldn't have a movie if crazy stuff didn't happen. So I understand why they go so, you know, outlandish with certain stuff.
Yeah.
But again, that's why again I'll go back to my argument that I thought it was a thriller because it was like more believable. It was like more humanistic, like you had mentioned.
Okay.
But I understand why you're saying it's horror for you.
It's horror
because
for
me.
But apparently,
I'm used to the
rest
crazy.
of society feels like it's a thriller.
So because when you watch horror movies, you're like, you know, just like, I guess numb to like this, because I feel like this was like not crazy compared to what I've seen.
Okay.
So comparing cinema, you know, so we need to start doing more horror movies on the podcast so we can start exploring.
No, thank you, Dexter.
I'll try to slip that in there and try to.
I'll let you handle the horror section.
You tell us if you want to see more horror movies, but overall, I feel like I do want to talk about Lee Daniels because I feel like Lee Daniels has been consistent in producing black cinema like throughout his entire career. But I also
pause. Lee Daniels has been consistent in producing black quality cinema for years.
That, yeah.
Continue.
No, but literally, like again, because we've seen, you know, him do multiple televisions, The Butler, but Shadowboxer was with Cuba Gooding Jr. way back in the day. Also starred Monique. He's always used to put Monique on with a lot of projects. Monique was supposed to be Cookie Lion originally for Empire and stuff like that. And then we all know that they had a beef and everything, but you know.
That would have been interesting.
You can see Monique as Cookie Lion?
That would have been really interesting.
I think it could have been. I love Taraji P. Henson, so I'm not gonna say it was.
I love Taraji.
So like it happened the way it was supposed to happen, but I'm saying it could have been. I feel like it could have been good either way for me because Monique has always been I was always loved Monique, and Monique has done multiple television shows too.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I could.
No, literally. So he's done a lot, like, you know, so many different genres. He's done Star, like so many different shows, and I feel like I want to talk about a little bit too how he does incorporate white people into the black world, essentially. Because again, we know obviously black people, especially in America, we live in a society where white people don't always necessarily have to have a black person they know, but black people are always gonna have a white person they know.
Yeah.
Like it don't matter where you are. Like even if you're in the deep south, you got to go to a store with a white person, like, you know, so they're always there. So I feel like he does a good job. It might not necessarily be perfect, but a good job of always adding white people into black stories, but not making it necessarily about them. Because even this show Star, even though it had a white main character, he incorporated so many different people, like Queen Latifah and so many other people's stories, that it wasn't just about Star, even though the show was named after her. And he got a lot of flack about that, but when you watch the show, you're like, oh, it's about her, but it's not about just her.
Yeah.
It's about the whole scenario or situation. Again, with Glenn Close, bring somebody like such a heavy hitter, you know, into, you know, essentially our world.
Yeah.
It still doesn't, for me, it doesn't seem out of place. It feels like it's a good balance he does. Because you also have other.
Well, she could act too. like it would be different if she was trying to be like, it was like Melissa McCarthy trying to be the devil. Like you're not about to do this role, but like, but Glenn, she can act. She was like, basically she was like, I'm a bitch, and I'm gonna be a bitch that, you know, fits into this role, and she killed it.
She did it.
And I do enjoy that he doesn't write white people perfect. He writes them as they show up in our world. They don't see that.
So
like
good.
The thing is, like in a lot of white films, right? I feel like they do write black people and they write them in, you know, as this like perfect token black, right? Like, oh, this black friend is like the perfect, like in New Girl, right?
Exactly.
Let's just say for example. And I love the show New Girl. But with that show, all the black characters are written as like these perfect friends. Like, look how good of a heart he has. Look how wonderful he shows up. Like, he's always that friend that has it together, that gives the right words of advice, that always has your back. Like, we show up in white stories as the token black person, the perfect black person. And when we put white people in our stories, like how Lee Daniel did, he put her as she truly shows up, like how that character would show up. In the real world, we would have a white woman dressed like a black girl who fuck niggas, because in the real world, you go into the hood and there's white girls dressed like black women that fuck niggas. So I hope this video is not gonna get too much slack, but like the reality is that is what we really see, and I'm glad that we didn't do our usual like what we normally see in film, which was add in the token white. Let's make her mom a good white woman, a solid Karen. Like, you know, I'm glad that we didn't see that. I'm glad that we saw, you know, what we would actually see in that environment, right? Like,
and I'm glad you said that too, because I feel like a lot of times when we get the token bad person, it also makes it. I feel like we've gotten so used to like trying not to stereotype black people, because black people used to be horribly stereotyped and just in these obviously racist and horrible roles that we have to like pull ourselves out of. So white people are like, okay, it goes to the exact extreme where you're this perfect person. It's like where you're still not human, like, you know. And I'm glad you said that, because it's so true. Like, every time these black people are in these roles, they're like this perfect person with no flaws, and
the
they
person
can't do
you
anything.
can count on.
Yeah, and it's like that's not how black people. We just want to be regular people. Like, you know, like we're complex individuals too. We have feelings, we have emotions. Where sometimes we can be the bitch. Like, you know, we have the attitude, and that's okay.
And that I enjoy seeing that too in this movie as well. Like Andre Day having like very real moments, like moments that you can connect to, like coming home, being exhausted, like, you know, like her going to beat up the kid for messing with her son.
Yeah.
This is my favorite scene in the movie, easily, because she took 0 seconds to whoop that boy's butt. She walked up to the corner boys. The daughter said, she said,
what happened to your brother?
What happened? The daughter said the corner boys did it. Mama didn't say which corner boys. She walked past corner boys to get to the corner boys in question. And then she got there and then hucked two and took them down and said, and then told him like, don't miss nothing me.
Exactly.
Don't touch my boy. Like, you know, and like for me that was perfect, because the evolved thing to do would have been, who's missing my son? I'm gonna go do the right thing. Like, let me call your parents. Like, you know, and she came over there, she was like, I am not above hitting a child. And like, I'm here for the real character. I'm here for like the realness of that. To me, again, I connected to her character because I feel like he always gives her roles where she is flawed. Like Billie Holiday, when she played that character and she was just basically fucking niggas like all the time, everywhere, I was like,
it probably so.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe
Wait, so you don't want the speech where she goes into like, look, Jamal, I see you. You don't have to be this type of person. You can
Nobody needs that.
You can be better than a black boy.
Nobody needs that,
not
because that's not who we are.
Exactly.
At the core, we're not going down to call this boy's mama. You're big enough for me to whoop on you, and you know what's going on. You know you deserve this. But like, respectfully, I just love the energy that she brought. Like her incomplete sentences. I swear to God. I know white people were looking for the rest of that sentence. They were like, swear to God, what? They were like on a cliffhanger. Swear to God, what?
Swear to God, what?
What happens? What happens next? She didn't finish the sentence. Yeah, black people heard that whole sentence.
It was a whole monologue after that.
Period. Swear to God, we know what that means. Do that shit again if you want to.
You can try it.
You gonna meet Jesus and he'll finish a sentence for you. That's what that meant. Loved it. Loved the character. Loved the movie. I actually thought the storyline was really well written. I thought they had really great transitions. And then I find out that it's based on a true story. Do you have any feelings, any thoughts about that?
From what I was reading on Twitter, a lot of people didn't like the fact that like he included a white woman in the story when there's no real white woman in the story. But I feel like, again, me coming from just an artist's point of view, sometimes when you retell a story, you want to tell your own version of that story, which is what he did. Because even with Andre Day being the actress, he knew she was a biracial girl. So how it wouldn't be right for him to like try to portray her as a black woman when she's biracial.
Right.
So he added on to that character and was able to do something great by having Glenn Close come in there.
And so, also, you have to naturally find holes to add diversity to the script as well. We don't want everything to be an all-black film. Think about the people. Think about the audience that Glenn Close. Can't say her name. Glenn Close. Think about the audience that having her name attached to this film is going to bring in.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because now we're getting two separate audiences, and it's still a story that's a thriller, or horror, or whatever, and it's totally, you know, it's evolved now because we have this diversity of characters. Not to mention, like, so I did catch that the real woman, her mother was black, not a white woman. But I think that adding her in there also gave the audience more of a connection with Glenn Close stepping in, trying to protect the kids, it added an extra layer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It was like this white woman thinks she's about to take my kids from me because I have alcohol. Like it was like it just added an extra layer of like
drama,
disrespect. It thickened the plot to me. So it was a good call.
Well, especially when she called her out too. She was like, "You think because you know a black dick, like you think you can do whatever?" And she was like, it made her like reevaluate herself. And again, I feel like it's only something you could have done in a biracial like situation, like And Andre essentially has to live as a black woman, and her mom is not, and her having to come through those complications. And we've heard about that. This kind of type of stereotype. It wasn't a stereotype in the movie, but like usually the tragic mulatto, this hopeless biracial person, lost in this black world lost in this world between black and white. Yeah. So I feel like Lee Daniels does a good job of like portraying all like blackness, but like what's considered blackness.
Because
like, how does it
black men are not always leaving the black community going for Katie, the perfect white girl. Sometimes they bring a white girl that grew up in that environment and they have that experience with her, and then it's just like seeing a black woman on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like there were so many moments in there where I was like, dang, she like a sister for real. It was kind of scary because what really separates us besides the texture of our hair and how dark one of our skin gets. You know what I'm saying? Like because like with no makeup and all that stuff, like she definitely had me. When he was a light skin, I don't want to get into it. But honestly, exceptional film for me. And as far as like just finding out that it was based on a true story, finding out how this family actually like navigated this situation, I just think that there is so interesting retelling history in this way. No,
and literally it makes it seem like I love this that we get to see this type of content because again it broadens the horizon of what a black quote unquote director can do, a black producer can do, right? And it like again it like you said, it expands the audience, and I like that it's a pretty good portrayal because again we're not saying that this is every black family or every black person, but it's a good portrayal of a black family that you might have not seen before. Again, like you said, you haven't experienced that, but like there are people like me. I have. Like, my favorite scene was when she was dancing in the house. She was dancing with the guy, like grinding on him in a house party. Cause I was like, that's kind of stuff I seen growing up. Okay. Like with like my mom or her friends and stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff I love. Cause like, it reminds me of my childhood. So. Okay.
Because it wasn't a party, and he wasn't holding on to somebody's jeans.
Exactly. So I feel like I love that he shows like these like moments that black people essentially can connect with, but it doesn't seem like just the black trauma. That we're like, oh, we know about slavery, we know about this, and this. So again, I really did like the film. I feel like everybody should watch this film. I'm glad it was. I think it was #1 at one point on Netflix. So it needs to stay #1 for at least some while, so we can keep getting content like this from such great actors. Again, and it's not just like regular. Now I'm not saying we don't have any like not as famous actors, but it's like to see top level actresses and actors get paid well, and then put on something that's actually really good.
Really refreshing. And like to see Monique as the caseworker, I enjoyed seeing her on film again in that regard. Now you know how I feel about Auntie Monique. She always trying to talk about somebody's bonnet.
Hey my babies.
Hey my babies. And we know how I just feel a certain way about people who have so much to say about other people's business. But neither here nor there. I enjoyed seeing Monique on the screen. I enjoyed her energy with Andre Day's energy because Andre Day kind of came in like, I'm not about to be told what to do. Yeah. And like when it comes down to Monique, she also got that I'm not about to be told what to do situation like too. So to see those energies match off, like it's rare that you see two black women on TV sparring. You know what I mean? But like in reality, we spar a lot because we're strong-minded. We got that alpha mindset. So to see that their energies kind of match and play off of each other, I actually thought it was a good match. I think Monique was the best person to play the social worker. You know what I mean? Because she was definitely going to make everybody stand on their toes. So anyways, great cast, great film. Make sure you check it out. It's streaming on Netflix, and I think it's still in the top 10 right now. So be sure you watch it and make sure you comment and like this video because we sent you there. So give us our due credit, please.
Absolutely. Let them know, okay? That we're watching and that y'all watching and that everybody's watching.
That's it, because we doing this together. Cameron, any other comments for this film?
No. Go see it.
You heard it here from Cam Bam first, everybody. Well, thanks again for watching another episode of the Black Cinema Experience Podcast. Bye.